All right, we're gonna do a quick session of N3 development assisted with Cloud Code and a few other tools. So we've got an Upsun project. So let's check that project right now on the console. That project is actually composed of a Next.js front-end application, and the whole project is basically a dashboard for an e-commerce application. So we've got a Next.js project, and then we've got an API with FastAPI in Python that actually feeds the data to the Next.js project. On the side, we've got a Chainlead chatbot, but that's not gonna be part of that demo. As services, we've got two different things. We've got Postgres that is holding up all our customer data, orders, and everything like this, and a Vault key equivalent to Redis, which is basically storing all our cached data, sessions, and all of this. So first, let's go into Cursor with Claude and actually start asking a question. So first thing we want to do is actually query the PostgreSQL to get some data out of it. In order to do that, I'm gonna open tunnels to the Upsun main environment. Hey Claude, can you open SSH tunnels to the Upsun main environment, please? So Claude starts to think about it and is now using the MCP and the CLI to actually do this. So if we look at the different MCP I've got installed on this one, I've got Context 7 that you should know that is able to pull all the documentation from a lot of different software libraries and everything like this. So amazing to get up-to-date information for your LLM. I've got the Upsun MCPs that allow us to automate every action on Upsun directly, and the Postgres one that is able to actually connect to the database and start doing queries, analyzing things, and all the good stuff around that. So let's see. Now, that's cool. Our tunnels are now open. I've got all the different credentials to connect to. That's perfect. So, Claude, connecting to the Postgres database using the MCP and tell me what the total revenue of the website is. So, Claude is now actually creating that SQL query that's going to be used to actually calculate the total revenue. Okay. And we're not connected. Yes. Let's see. Cool. So now that it's connected, it's gonna put the total revenue that is now 671 million. Pretty amazing for an e-commerce application. Okay, let's check what this project actually looks like. Claude, can you tell me the URL for the main environment of our application, please, on Epson? And yes, as you can see, I'm still saying please in all my different queries because I like Claude so much that I want to actually thank him for everything he's doing. So now it's connecting to the Upsun API through the MCP and gathering all the information from that environment. So we see our project ID and now we see the different URL for that project. So let's check that out. And as you can see right now, this is my Next.js dashboard pulling the data from the API. We've got 2 million clients, 4 million orders, so a pretty large database. I don't know how big it is actually, but must be around like 4 to 5 gigs of storage. And we've got all our different statistic actually coming out, all the different clients and everything. So the goal of that demo, as we've seen, we've got a total revenue of more than 600 million, and we want to add a new card on the dashboard to show that total revenue. So we're gonna follow the Upsun development flow to do that. All right, Claude, I want you to actually create a new card on the dashboard that will show the total revenue. In order to do that, you're gonna first create a new branch called total dash card, create the card in the web app, and then also don't forget to create the API endpoint to actually feed the data to the front end. Once you've done all of this, push that to Upsun on that new total dashcard environment and give me the URL of that environment. Don't wait for the environment to fully deploy to give me the URL. And as you can see, that's a quite complex prompt with a lot of different actions. So Claude is going to analyze all of this and break that down into a to-do list. So we see is creating a new branch. That's cool. And I need to allow him to actually do that every time. So we've got that new branch. It's going to start by creating the API endpoint on the FastAPI app, pulling the data from Postgres with the queries. So we're all good. And then it's gonna start working on the dashboard card. So it's gonna analyze the existing cards and then creating a new one based on the existing one that we can see with the number of clients and number of orders. The only action I've done previous to that to actually prepare Claude to work on it is just a slash init that actually create the Cloud MD, where it analyzed all the application, the web app, the Next.js one, and the API to actually understand where everything is and all of this. All right, so it's now using Tailwind to create that new card based on the existing one. So let's wait a few seconds. So the card has been created. It's now adding the card to the dashboard. It's trying to find the dashboard right now. Found it. That's good. Adding, as we're using on the Next.js app, we're using an API service class to actually abstract all the different API calls to the Python API. So it's adding a new one called get total revenue. Everything looks good right now. And now putting that into the dashboard page. So we should have everything. And now we are pushing that new branch to the environment. So it should actually look at all the changes, doing the commit with a nice commit message from Claude, and now pushing that environment. Cool. And now we see the push is actually done. So something that is missing right now, because we're using Git directly to actually push it, I need to ask Claude to actually activate the environment. Claude, can you activate the new environment that has just been created on Upsun, please? And as you can see, Super Whisper that I'm using to actually do speech to text actually messed up the Upsun, but that's fine. It's going to still find it. So using the MCP, it's now actually asking it to deploy the environment and activating it. So if we check now our project, we see that we have a new total card environment actually being built. But then we are actually going through the build process that we're doing with Upsun. So first setting all the different resources for the different environments and actually creating the application. One feature that is especially useful, as you know, is with Upsun, we're actually cloning all the data. So that means we are actually taking a full snapshot of the production environment and actually provisioning the new total code environment with the exact same data. So we're going to be able to actually just in a couple minutes test our new card feature based on the actual data that is actually the same that is being cloned from the production database. So let's wait for that backup to actually go through. All right, so my environment finished activated and is now deployed. So let's actually go back to courses that give me the new URL for that environment. And as you can see, we've got an automatically generated hostname for that one. And now I've got the total revenue card in there. My production environment, still working as usual, no modification yet. So we can now test everything and everything is good. Value is good. The API is actually sending the right amount. The query is good and the card looks like the other ones. So that's perfect. So the next action now that my test has been done is basically asking Claude to merge everything and push that to production. So Claude, can you merge the total cloud branch into the main branch and push that to the Upsun remote, please? So it's going to do exactly what we've told him, just switching to the main branch, merging the new cloud one, and pushing that to Upsun. And by doing that, we're basically pushing to production. So it's going to reuse the build that we've used for that new environment for testing into that environment. So the great thing about this is that we're not going through the build process again. As you know, when we do a new deployment on Epson, we've got two different phases. We've got the build that is building the base container image with the code and everything. And then we've got the deploy part, which is running migration and updating the environment, clearing caches and stuff like this. So in our case, because we're just merging, we are reusing the different builds images that we've done in the past. So it's going to be faster. We're just pushing that to the main environment. Obviously, we can see that happening in real time in our console as well, where we see that I'm now redeploying that environment. So making sure the certificates are good, reprovisioning Blackfire, if you need to do some performance monitoring and profiling on that environment. And we are now redeploying our Next and API application. As you can see, because the chain init application actually didn't change at all, we're only redeploying the application that needs to and that have code modification in there. So let's just wait for that to actually complete. Deployment is now going through. We've run the migration, everything's good, and we've got everything redeployed. So now if we refresh our production environment, hey, that's cool. Now everything's in production. So everything's perfect. So now I can go back to cursor and actually tell him, okay, feature has been deployed. It's great. Can you take a backup of the main environment, please, through the Upsun MCP? So just as a matter of precaution, I'm just actually just triggering a new backups. So we should see that appearing in a few seconds as well on the dashboard. And yeah, the new backup is being created, a new snapshot of everything, including the data and everything. So if I need to, I can restore that on the main environment or even on another environment if I want to. Last step that we need to actually do is asking Claude to please, can you delete the total code branch and delete the Upsun environment for it? Everything is done. You've done a great job. Thank you so much. And now we're just cleaning up because we're not using the GitHub integration. It's not done automatically. So we need to actually do the branch and then push that branch afterward. And as you can see, the MCP actually figured out that we can't delete the branch right away. We need to pause it and then delete it. So everything is done, and my environment will actually be deleted in a few seconds. So that's how basically you can actually do actual real development. I'm not talking of vibe coding there, but actually actual development on your existing product with Upsun, always keeping the flow of creating new environment for every Git branch and then testing and then merging that back, everything automated through Claude and our MCP. You can find our MCP on GitHub. It will be linked below. And you obviously can set up that MCP everywhere you want, whether you're using Cursor directly, any other tools, GitHub, Copilot, Claude, whatever you be using. We've got the tutorial for setting that up in more like 20 different clients. Hope you liked it and see you soon.